right, we are live. How you doing this week, Carlo? Everything good for you?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, busy night, isn't it? Mostly for you rather than me, but you know, here we are, getting ready for a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Just to give you guys an idea of the kind of pain I've been going through today, I am currently recording a game it's being played right now between Bazoo and Crag in the Masters Championship. They had the times kind of like changed around a little bit, so I've had to kind of record that now.
Big
So I'm
game.
watching that. Yeah, I'm watching it right now. Actually, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I do actually think it's quite a good game. I thought it was going to be over very quickly. I may be wrong. Um, I may have also accidentally paused the recording for about 5 minutes in the middle, so there's a weird jump thing, which I'll explain what happens when we get there. But we'll be premiering that live at some point later in the week, when there's a dead day, and we'll, yeah,
There'll be content for you practically every day. So,
definitely,
yeah.
that's the plan. Content every day on the Masters coming your way, and that's what we've got for us today. We've got the man himself, Carlo, of course, the admin of the Masters Championship. Carlo, how is the Masters faring? It has been all of about, what, 24 hours, basically?
Yeah, yep. Only just
Yeah.
kicked off. And yet already, you know, we've had one game played already, and we've had a big name fall out of the tournament straight away. Every game is pretty much big names if you follow the tournament scene. I mean, if you look at Gold on Dice or anything like that, then you'll see that all of these players are coming in the top 3, 4 of online tournaments continuously. And we saw the student and the teacher, the combo of Brett and what has basically become his
Protege,
kind
right?
of gaming pupil of George go up head to head. We saw Baratheon versus our only Night's Watch player, and in a very, very slow, defensive, grindy game, we see George just edge Brett out, and Brett's out the tournament straight away, first round. Like I say, 16 players, all of which are very good. 8 very good players are going to have to get knocked out in the first round.
Definitely. Good to see some of the good to see some of the regulars in the chat straight away. Hello, Craig, or Bruce, I should say. Just call you by your on-screen name. Obviously, Carl over at West Coast. Greg, common site around here. Greg or Rhaegar, right? Always make sure that one gets in there. And Blood Raven, otherwise known as Camille, the Polish legend. Yes, we are going to get stream of. We are going to get some Lannister stream going on. We can guarantee you we're going to get every faction streamed. Every person is going to be on stream. Every game, in theory, should be streamed. And so we will be seeing the only Lannister in the Masters getting some time. Van. We don't know him that well. He's me and Carla never talked to him. We think he's a bit of a weirdo. He plays Lannisters in a Masters tournament, right? Everyone knows you should just play Starks.
There's no Kickstarters. Yeah.
I know, right?
No, everybody knows. Everybody knows that 50% of people know that 80% of the time, 50% of the time, you should play Starks.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got an interesting game, which is Lannisters versus Free Folk. Sorry, yeah, that's right. Lannisters versus Free Folk. It's a very interesting quarter of the bracket without a Stark in it at all. So we will have at least one Stark, non-Stark, sorry, in the semi-finals. We'll see what faction that turns out to be. There were 4 factions down in that quarter: the Lannisters, the Free Folk, the Baratheons, and the Night's Watch. It is the most diverse quarter, and we'll see which one of those comes out on top. With almost, I believe, guaranteed actually, they come to meet another quarter, which is 100% Starks. So there will be Starks versus one of those random 4 on the semi-final of that side.
Yeah.
Quite an interesting side of the bracket.
Now, I apologise first of all. Make sure I'm, tech stuff out of the way. Make sure that the levels are all right for everybody. Make sure sound's all right. Make sure if it isn't, let me know. Also, I do apologise if there's any skipped frames. It's not you. It's definitely me. As I said, got a game recording right now, so it's hit and miss what's going on. I'm trying to watch both, making sure that everything's running smoothly. It just about is, I think. So let me know if it isn't. Anyway, Yes,
And
it's
Bruce, so there's some questions already.
yeah.
Bruce is always asking them, was the choice of game modes intended to challenge these top players? I would say the choice of game modes was specifically to steer away from the game modes which I think had huge factional favorable matchups, that particularly being Game of Thrones, which plays hugely into Starks, and Clash of Kings, which plays hugely into Free Folk. Despite the fact that I removed these two game modes, I forget its actual name. We're running the beta game mode, which is very similar to Game of Thrones, but you take the damage from the walls, making it not just a simple case of sticking objectives near your own side and putting direwolves on them. Much more interesting game mode, in my opinion, and really should have just been a straight swap for Game of Thrones, I think, competitively. And we don't use Clash of Kings. There are 6 known game modes which will come up in a random order. So we do know what the game modes are. The other point being, Bruce thinks that Ariakas versus Larks is probably the 2 best players playing Starks. And yeah, it's a really juicy matchup that they have been drawn first together in the first round. I say drawn. The tournament is seeded. Ariakas is slightly surprising to some people, but based on the actual rankings, Ariakas is seeded 16th. He only just made it into the tournament based on his ranking. Larks is seeded number 1, so that's why they come up against each other in the first round. We'll see which way that one goes, because as we've said, we've seen Ariakas and Larks go head-to-head in a Stark mirror multiple times before. Almost guaranteed that we will see another howling mirror, and it's currently 1-for-1.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Definitely, I think it's going to be a good one. I look forward to even a Stark mirror, which I know people complain about. Like, if there's a Stark mirror I want to watch, it's Ariakas versus Larks. Like, that is the Stark mirror I want to see. I'll be honest with you, there's another Stark mirror, I believe. Is there? No, there isn't. Is there?
So the other Stark mirror in the first round is the Border, a big proponent of the 2 NCU Stark play. He runs double Rob, and he's coming up against Mahoney Slaw, who is the UK entry, and is doing well in the TSL as well.
Yep.
You might have seen him about. He's also, I believe he's running, off the top of my head, is he running Rob and Howland? He's almost definitely running Howland.
Mahoney's Law is running Rob Howland, and DeBorder's running double Rob. I can't get them on screen because I've cut the crop out and it won't let me scroll down anymore. My bad.
Fair enough. The question is Fire and Blood in? Yes, I do run Fire and Blood. I am a big... I favor Fire and Blood very heavily in a competitive game mode. I know that there are some issues with it in terms of being defensive and the number of NCU points you have and stuff like that. It's not a perfect game mode, but I like it largely because it favors smaller elite armies. And that, I think, is very balancing against all the other game modes that exist. I don't think the game itself is the best. I don't think it makes the most tactical game there in its individual actual game that gets played. But that it exists brings a balance to the way you write your lists, in my opinion. So, yeah, I was definitely picking game modes that I thought would challenge the players. I also picked game modes which I hoped would not promote people to just play Starks, and yet we still have 50% Stark entries.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting evening to Brett, who's just played up, and as well as Francesco. Good to see some more of the regulars coming in. Yeah, so I mean we just have a look at that the split there. We see that fraction split is somewhat ridiculous, isn't it? 6%. Well, it's 6.25, isn't it? Is the 16th. So 6.25% is one faction. As you can see, 6%. Yeah. 19 will be 3 factions. So that's half of the factions there of non-Stark entries and 8 Stark entries. Interestingly enough, 7 Stark commanders, but actually only 6 players bringing Rob. Sorry, 7 Robs, but only 6 players because DeBorder runs him twice.
DeBorder favors him very heavily.
Yeah.
Francesco asks, why is Clash of Kings not competitive? Or his actual question is, why do people think that it's not competitive? I
think it is. I personally think Clash of Kings is competitive.
Yeah, I do think it's competitive. I think that, again... Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say it just favours one list build. The Harmer spam list build. I know
in
people
favor of
do lose with
particular
it.
styles. Yeah.
I just don't see how people should be. You know, it's virtually impossible to score any points. That's the main reason, and the stats back it up. Is it 80% win rate, something like that, that Free Folk have on Clash of Kings? Or at least it used to be. I don't know if it's changed.
Greg says I like Fire and Blood so that Free Folk don't have a 90% chance to win. There is that, you know, like again, I think that there are game modes which, when selected in certain ways, can balance the factions, shall we say, away from what's continuously winning. It's almost a shame that you have to be very, very careful as a TO in what you include as to like what you are promoting to be most likely to win. As a good player, you should be looking at what the game modes are when deciding what you're going to play. We're talking about TTS here. Nobody has any allegiance. Nobody has any models. Nobody has anything invested into a particular faction on TTS. They can pick up and play whatever as long as they're skilled with it.
Yep.
So I think it's very interesting that we see still tons of Starks, even though I was trying to pick game modes that wouldn't help them. And we see our regular factions, really. You know, we see those Free Folk, even though we're going to have to play into Fire and Blood and stuff like that.
The interesting thing, of course, which is not a surprise really to anybody, no Targs, we spoke about last week, and no Neutrals. Neutrals just not seen to be competitive in the meta right now, not being able to compete with the big boys. Not saying there aren't good neutral players out there and good neutral lists, but it's just not to the standard. And Targaryens, without dragons, we might add, just not hitting the big highlights. Now, I did want to address dragons as a quick point, because I know that some people have been playing a lot of games with dragons. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, dragons, we've been playing them, it's been interesting, they're really good, they're really good, really good. I've not seen a single player play dragons that isn't against a Baratheon player. Now, I know that Carl played Free Folk against his kid, and his kid had a dragon, but everyone else I've seen has tried like triple dragon lists or dragon lists against Baratheon players, and they've been like, oh my god, dragons are broken. Just a public service announcement here, guys. That's not a surprise. Dragons screw Baratheons. Please don't take that to heart. Sorry, I just thought I'd get that one out there while we're talking about Targs.
Yeah. I mean, that Baratheons look like they're the people who are worst affected by the coming dragons.
Yeah.
They are the ones that are going to have to adapt their lists the most to deal with them. And actually, the real problem is that I think that the Baratheons have only just managed to find a single competitive list build.
Yeah, they're starting to find stable
They only really
lists.
have one.
And it's Courtney, right?
Yeah, and it's Courtney Penrose in Rose Knights. Well, like not too much Rose Knight spam. You still want to keep your activation count high, but like a couple of units of bare bones Rose Knights with Courtney, some powerful NCUs, like a control style thing, and it's almost completely done by dragons. So it looks like their second list is gonna have to just be whatever they can muster that can kill dragons.
Definitely. Anyway, that's why you don't perhaps. I mean, we see some Baratheon players here, but again, I think that's why you see a lower percentage. No Baratheons are popular. People love playing Baratheons, but it's just not quite up to par right now.
But hey, they're 100% in the Masters tournament. They're 1-for-1. They are advancing. We'll see how far Baratheons go. Baratheons have won some smaller events recently, so we'll see how far they go in the Masters, because they are popular. There are good players who really favour them and want to play with them. I think that they're lacking some tools. We'll see. We'll see how long they last.
All right. Okay. So that's the Masters. Kind of like just talked about there in terms of like a general overview. I am going to very quickly run through all the things we've got planned with the Masters. So directly after here, there's going to be a half an hour break where I'm going to lose my mind while I set up some completely different stream for a completely different Twitch channel. And me and Carlo jump over to NRG.
Well, I take a break.
And I
make you work hard. I'll just set off.
I'm going to jump over to NRG, get that all set up, and me and Carlo are going to stream the Stannis versus Frioka game. So it's another Baratheon up against Starks. Two rivals, two friends. Frioka and Stannis know each other quite well. We know Stannis kind of a little bit. We talk to him every now and then. Mainly we meme about him. but he's going to be heading over to play for Ryoku, so we'll catch that directly after here. So if you're watching this live and you really want more content for your Monday night, go there. Go there. We will be posting a link in the chat at the end of the stream today. So that's tonight. Tomorrow, have we got anything tomorrow? Or is tomorrow my day off? Tomorrow's my day off, I think.
We'll probably have to do that premiere.
Oh,
not currently.
Yeah, we'll probably do a premiere. Anyway, so we've got Bazoo versus Crag happening right now, but we'll be getting that out as content for you guys out there. So we'll see how that goes. Brett just saying there in chat, I just caught that there. Didn't deserve to be in the Masters. No, he did. Of course he did. Brett, of course you deserve to be in the Masters. You were the highest ranked player at the cut-off date. That is all that matters.
Yeah.
If it turns out you make mistakes
actually,
and things like that.
I mean, I saw a couple of people posting in the main Discord. They were talking about the game, stuff like that. Some people said, like I believe that there were some mistakes in the game, that things could have been played differently. Mickey, you were commentating on it. You commentated multiple times that you would have done something differently. I saw some people in the Discord say things like, "Oh, like somebody even said this is Masters," like as if, and then well, I'm sorry, but these players are repeatedly beating all these people who are saying, "Oh, these players aren't very good." Seriously, put your money where your mouth is. Like, there's all these like keyboard warriors in this Discord claiming that they're better than these people that they're watching, and they can't beat them. Yeah, it's as simple as they lose to them. That's why their ranking is lower than them.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you're better than these players, then prove it. Otherwise, shut up.
Exactly. So Brett, don't take it on yourself. You play good games, you play bad games. It just so happened that on the day you just didn't play as well as you would have liked, and unfortunately, it's nothing to take away. That's not a comment on you as a player. That's just a performance thing that happens to everybody. Happens to me. Happens to Carlo. Happens to my dog just down here. My dog doesn't play Song.
Half of everybody has to go out in the first round. That's tournament bracket knockout.
Yeah.
Half of good players are gonna go, and everybody's good. Every game, hard to call which way it's gonna go, and we'll see who makes it to the end. It's about consistency and kind of preparation for the game.
Yeah,
is what this is really kind of proving, that all these players know the game well, who can prepare the best, who can concentrate the best on the day, who can not make any slip-ups, and who can really stick to their own game plan the best. And that's what really kind of starts to separate the best players, a consistency as opposed to like how well they know the game.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so what other things going on? Oh yeah, Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be busy. We've got Van versus
Rossi. Van versus Rossi,
yep.
which is the Lannister versus Free Folk game. That one's coming up then, and then later that night, which would be Wednesday evening if you're in the US, Thursday morning if you're in Australia. If you're in Europe, it's the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That will be remind me, that's Spleen versus
Carnartist. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see Australia versus Canada there. Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. We are hoping, although no promises here, we're hoping to get you that one live with the Lord Commander Bob and the Sunday Slaughter crew. Obviously Chris Tran, but he's seeing if he's going to be able to fit it into the schedule. If not, then we'll try something. And if we can't get it to you live, we'll always record it, of course, and get it to you later on.
Hopefully, there'll be other people streaming beyond NRG as well. Yeah, we're just trying to sort everything out. So if anybody's listening and they haven't told us when their stream is, tell us when your stream is. Trying to organise stuff, trying to make it good.
Yeah, trying to get as we say, every game streamed. That's the plan.
Greg wants to lose his bracket.
Greg wants to lose his
might
bracket.
Be able to. I'll see. I'll ask the 8 players. I'll see if they're interested.
Even if it's just casual games in the 8, from what it would be. No stress. All right, so that's Masters as a whole. There will be more coming up at the weekend. I've just remembered that I've got my game on Wednesday as well for the TSL. Shout out to the TSL. Obviously, all the things going on there. Big up the Humble London Smugglers. Big up the Lightning Lords.
Always
Hashtag B for better. East Rosy Water Dancers suck. Bremen Highlanders are okay. What else? What other shade can I throw? Smaller Council. They're quite cool. Steadfast ORG, they're British, they're awesome.
Half British.
Half
Half
British.
cool.
Half cool. Um, who else is out there who I need to shout? Oh yeah, Brotherhood Without Banners. They're a bunch of nice people who are pretty good at the game. Who else is out there that I need to mention who I can remember? Oh yeah, the Three Eyed Roosters. They're French. We're gonna beat them. They're going down. They suck.
It's going to be
Calling
a big
it
game.
here.
I'm looking forward to that one.
There's hot takes there. That's the TSL for this week, guys. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time with it. We obviously had George on last week. And it's ongoing.
Yeah.
You'll be getting more of that and more of that coming soon. I think George has got a stream tomorrow night. I think.
Probably.
So
Quite likely. I think he streams quite regularly on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So check
what else is going on? There are some big events that have been going for quite a long time, which are starting to get towards the end. I don't know when its exact end date is, but you will recognize the names. Gold on Dice still needs to have its final game played between Van Van and Marsara for Ryoku. This is to decide the winner of the event. For those who've forgotten, the Gold on Dice has been running for about 8, 9, maybe even 10 weeks now.
17 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's been 84 years. It's it's a big event which had a lot of hype and kind of died away because they decided to do it over such a long period. Yeah, the winner will take home a €200 prize. Don't forget. The loser will almost definitely come third and will take home, still a respectable prize.
$50?
Yeah, exactly. Crag, I'm pretty sure, unless the game is incredibly close, Crag has secured himself almost definitely second place. He could.
No, tournament points. He's only on 13 tournament points.
Yeah.
So he's actually. All the other games, if they win, they'll go to 14 or more, right?
Yeah, so the winner will go to 15 and the loser will go to 13 and will almost definitely sit below Crag in third place.
But then you've got Cal. Oh yeah, no, all the other ones have played, aren't they? On 11.
Yeah, exactly. We're basically just waiting for Van Van versus Marsara. There are some other games further down, but yeah, those players aren't going. It looks. That's interesting. There is actually Felix. Felix
and
could take second. I hadn't
Psychopath
realized.
could also, if he gets a crushing, go ahead of Crag.
Okay, all right. So second place is still up for grabs, which means that actually the loser of this final might not even take third. So there is quite a lot on the line. Is an interesting Lannister versus Stark game.
The old Classico.
The Classico that is with the Mountain That Rides. So yes. I would have to say that I favor the Lannisters in that matchup. The game mode is, of course, a Dance with Dragons, which is a very highly regarded competitive game mode. So we'll see which way that one goes. But hopefully, that'll be a big game and somebody will stream it. I haven't heard anything about it or what time it is or whatever. But the event should have already finished by now. The rounds have generally kind of passed on past their date that they're supposed to go to. Grusalug's asking, didn't Furioku donate the prize? No, this is a different event. This prize was put forward by a store in Malta called Gold on Dice, who put together this whole event. They are definitely looking to put together really big tournaments. They
run
are
by,
very
Basu?
competitive, kind of like Games Workshop 40k players, and have a big competitive scene there. They want to grow their own A Song of Ice and Fire scene. That's why they've run this TTS tournament, which is kind of half players from Malta, half players on a TTS, and because of the big prize pool, it's attracted a lot of top players. If you look into the top of that event, you will see a lot of masters in there, all duking it out. Yeah, and the event that Bruce is asking about that Furioku put up the prize for is Wolves Howling, which is also approaching the end. I'm a little confused. They currently have 5 players left, as far as I know, in a knockout bracket. I don't know what happened with the numbers. I'm not actually very involved in Wolves Howling, but somehow he manages to keep having the wrong numbers every round, is probably the best way to put it. All he needed to do was kind of give some people a bye in the first round.
There are 6 still in.
6.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's an even number.
Okay.
I
Cool.
think the
Still,
funniest
still goes to 3.
I think the
Uh,
funniest bit is that uh, I'm pretty sure it's just the winner of the next game. I think.
okay.
I'm not sure, but essentially, Rossi Stanis are on 10 and Furioka's on 12. If Furioka wins his game, he'll go to 15 uncatchable. Uh, so he would just win the tournament. Um, but
That's not quite how a knockout tournament works, but okay.
yeah, exactly. I don't
If
really know how
anybody
he's
knows
doing
what's
it
going
anymore.
on exactly in Wolves Howling,
Yeah.
then yeah, drop us a message because I've not been involved at all.
No.
So the site, in case you don't know, runs Swiss pairing unless you want to do manual pairings. To do a tournament knockout, you can. I am running a tournament knockout through the site. All I do is I just select manual pairings each round, and then I retire all the players who lose. All you need to do to create a tournament bracket is make sure that you have completed the bracket, shall we say. So it needs to be 8 players, 16 players, 32 players, 64 players. And if you don't have a complete bracket, then all you need to do is allow some players through the first round, basically giving them a bye until you're at that number of 32, 16, 8. You should never be at 6, 3, whatever. This shouldn't have happened. Maybe I will need to create more if people want to run knockout tournament brackets. But yeah, they're not.
I
It's
think the
quite
big
different.
issue, he had 34 players, which means in theory the
34
first
players.
round only
So
knocks
what
out
really
2.
he should have done is he should have simply knocked out 2 players from the first round and kept 32. Is what should have happened. The first round should have just got him to 32 players, but I think he somehow kept 18 or something, and
You go down to
continuously
18,
has
then you could
one
go down
player
to
too
10.
many every round. Yeah.
Then if you could, I suppose you could go down from 10 to 8. That's
No,
not terrible.
you can never do it. You can never ever do it. Don't try and use anything complicated.
Well,
You
no,
can
10 to 8
only
works because you just
ever have
lose
the
2 that
full
round.
value in any given round,
I know.
and then go down from there.
I'd have played that round from rather than just eliminating 2 in the first round. I'd have played a couple of rounds and then eliminated the bottom 2 players going into like the third round or something. To give players like a bit of a lead into
or
it.
exactly, or like a 60, like a top 16 cutoff at some point.
Yeah.
Basically, there are more intelligent ways to do it. He's not quite got it right, but he has done it entirely manually. So
Kudos for that.
Yeah, kudos for giving it a go. Bruce wants it to be completely doable through the site. Yeah, maybe soon. If people really want knockout brackets, then we can. TTS is good for knockout because people want to win, right? People want to win, and that's what knockout's about. Swiss draw and those kind of more like everybody plays everybody league-ish kind of matchups are what physical tournaments do 99% of the time, because nobody wants to turn up to a tournament and get knocked out.
Yeah, that's really reasonable. Good news, boys and girls. My Crag game has just finished recording.
Okay, cool. So
we will see if that's recorded properly. It doesn't look like it has. We'll see. Oh well. That'll be fun if that didn't. But alas, that's done now. I can hide that away. I can get myself sorted for the next thing in my life. Which is what we're talking about next. I've forgotten already. Oh, news this week.
We can talk about Call the Banners, the 50-point tournament, which is basically finished, right?
Oh, we can do, yeah. We've also got the news from this week as well, with the reveal thing that happened, didn't happen. We'll just talk about it briefly. But here we go. Right, Call the Banners. This is Carl's thing. Carl did a 50-point tournament called Call the Banners. We talked about it before briefly. He wanted to see if 50 points would change much. And we ran it through the NRG Discord. Got quite a few, like all the names you'd expect to see in tournaments. Just put in 28 players in the end. It was like a quick thrown together thing almost. But it seems like people have enjoyed it. They played 3 rounds, I think, in total.
Yeah.
And
there's a single undefeated player.
No, there isn't. But it currently looks like Bombs 27, otherwise known as Lawn Commander Bob, from Sunday Slaughter, is currently in first place. I do not
Mhm.
think anyone can catch him. Oh no, Sizemash versus
Sajmaz
Wildcard
could
Carl.
overtake him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Sajmaz definitely could overtake him. Waikakal very unlikely to with his unit
it would have
destroy
been
point.
possible. It would actually be impossible for him
Yeah.
to. Actually,
Yeah.
basically impossible.
But Sajmaz only needs to win to overtake,
Yeah.
as he has a very good SP.
Secondary points. Yeah.
Secondary points. He's had 2 crushings so far. Sajmaz running Night's Watch. Night's Watch Alistair Offal. A well-known good player running a faction which I think gains a lot from the bigger points value being compressed into the 4x4. But we see an interesting mix. We see the Night's Watch up there already in 3rd place. Lannister, Baratheon, Night's Watch. What's interesting is you have to go really quite far down before you find a free folk.
Mm-hmm. Down at 15th.
Both not popular in terms of entries. Oh, actually, it might be the only entry of the whole tournament.
I think there was only one free folk.
Yeah, just the one entry, and they've gone one
Middle
win out
row.
of 3. I think that it really hurts free folk to not be able to like just do things on the board which no other faction can do at 40 points. I think that really opens back up again if you put it on a 6x4. We also see the Starks doing mediocrely. We don't see the Starks dominating up at the top. If anything, actually, again, I think we only have a single Stark entry
There's
from
2.
Brett.
Dakota down 24th.
Oh yeah,
Who's still got a game in hand? He's still got a game to play.
It's interesting that Starks have a lot of movement kind of base mechanics as well as the free folk do, and a lot of that is lost if your opponent can just put enough frontage onto the board that you can never flank a unit. I think that personally a lot is lost if there is no flank into your opponent's army. If movement is no longer valuable, then I think that tactically the game loses a lot of its finesse. But it is interesting that it swings it strongly into favor of the defensive armies. I like the game to have an aggressive finesse style to it. I just think that the balance currently favors movement more than anything else at 40 points. But at 50, it looks like if you don't go to a bigger table, then it massively swings into the defensive army favor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting that we talk a ton about the game balance at 40 points on a 4x4.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it seems that different things can wildly win at 30 points and at 50 points and on different size tables and different things like that. So it is interesting that 40 points on a 4x4 is effectively the standard. I would say that 95% of all games submitted to the site, of all tournaments run, of everything that I ever see, is a 40-point game on a 4x4. And so that kind of defines what we kind of call the meta. But it can be wildly different at different values.
No, I definitely agree. As a personal point, I found in the 30-point tournaments that I put Unsullied in a list. And I thought, you know what, Unsullied are decent. I have some issues with them facing certain things, but you know what, I'll take them. And they blew my expectations out of the water. You know, they completely overperformed what I thought they were going to do. Because at 30 points, the answers that you normally see just weren't as common. You know, I wasn't getting Waldered, and I wasn't getting Knights of Cassie Rock charged every game. It was actually like, whoa, hang on. I can do these maneuverable shenanigans to get around the flank of a Rose Knight. You know, literally just punch a hole in a Rose Knight unit, one go, boom, done. Like, I didn't win that game, it was against Gushisha, but the point is that even happened is something I don't typically see on the 40-point 4x4s.
Yeah.
Interestingly, playing the old version of Here We Stand, going back to Masters briefly, but also it's linked to TSL, it's linked to tournaments in general. Here We Stand, Carlo. How are you standing on that? Pun. Got it in.
On that great pun. I am, from what I've not played it yet myself, the new version. I've read it, I've looked at it, I decided to use it
You saw it
for the
played.
Masters, and I've watched it be played. All my personal early indications and thoughts on it are that it's worse than the beta version. I liked the beta version a lot. I do not like this one that much. Still probably better than some of the more unbalanced game modes that are fully released, non-beta, that are out there. Still better than Clash of Kings. I'd rather play it than Clash of Kings, but I'd rather play the beta version. I like the beta version more.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's the general consensus. Having talked with, I know Brett's just disappeared, but I know I spoke with Brett and George after the game. I actually spent a fair amount of time chatting with them, talking about a couple of different things, and the consensus from George and from Brett was that the game mode just wasn't as good as the original beta. There was some interesting, nice things they brought in, but actually, the overall changes were net negative. That doesn't mean they were all bad.
Brings back the question, like, who did they test this with? Why did they decide to make these changes? Like, what about the old part? What about the beta? What feedback did they get for the beta that told them they needed to change anything? And then who did they have test it? Who then said, yes, this is better? Or are they doing this entirely without any testing? In which case, why did they put the beta game modes out at all? Like, if you're doing it without collecting feedback, then why did you give us the beta game modes?
Yeah, certainly it brings a question. But yes, anyway, that's Here We Stand. We're going to see a lot more of Here We Stand.
Not the worst.
Hopefully, we'll see some changes.
Is my current thoughts. We'll play it. Are we playing it in week 9? Is that what we play against the Roosters?
Oh, it might be. Yeah, it's like one of the last weeks.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't played it yet, so you know what I mean. Like I do. I'm always against people who like say bad things about dragons without having played them, and by played them, I don't mean play them once. I mean play it multiple times and stuff like that. But I've played the old one, and I know what I liked about the old one, and the new one doesn't have those things anymore.
Yeah, definitely true. All right, so that is a lot of tournament chat there around all of the tournaments that we've seen coming up, seen kind of like ongoing or coming to a close. I just wanted to do a very quick shout out to one or two that did come to a close. We had the unfortunate me and Carlo couldn't make it up to Scotland at the weekend for
I was just watching back last week's video and forgot that even last Monday we thought we were going to make it. So new lockdown rules came into place in our particular area of the UK, and we were not allowed to travel. We basically back to not being allowed out the house again. So yeah, we were unable to make it to the Scottish tournament called North of the Wall.
Yep.
Person you may have heard of before, Duncan Rhodes, was there. He did win Best Painted.
He didn't win Best Painted Army, right? He won Best Painted Unit. Or was it the other way around? Did he win Best Painted Army and someone else won Best Painted Unit?
He won one of the two.
Yeah.
I'm sure people were just being generous on the other one.
Maybe. I just think he's not
what we see is we see a Stark 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just a straight standard Stark 1, 2, 3, because we do see Great John Brynden as our number one winner. As I've talked about, I think that Brynden has a real place. Great John, less so. Interesting that Howland Rob, the more common pairing, managed to take number 2 and lost to the Great John Brynden kind of matchup in the final game. I forget what the game mode is.
Dance with Dragons.
A Dance with Dragons. Interesting. Yeah, so Brynden, I believe he takes Brynden in that game mode, and he is. Brynden,
that was the
if he can get onto those objectives, is very, very strong. But yeah, a good tournament. And I know they have a very competitive group up there, so really sad to not make it, to be honest.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a big shame because it was obviously looking forward to a physical tournament finally, and that got shot in the foot.
There was another event as well, which got posted on Facebook. A tournament in Adelaide, I believe, a store playing and setting up their first tournament. Really glad that they chose to use the site. And And yeah, another tournament of similar size. They should all be in the Hall of Heroes
Do you want to head over there?
if you want to go and check out the lists and see what's going on. We see I
Was
think
it
there's
Whispers
a
Down
third
Under,
one
wasn't
down. Yeah. So we see
Mhm.
ourselves Whispers Down Under. We see ourselves a Free Folk winner.
Mhm.
Relatively standard looking Free Folk lists there. Mance has been popular down in Australia for quite a while, and Harmer too. So yep,
Yeah.
really good stuff.
We also saw the pass rule. The pass rule event came to an end. It's an Australian kind of like a test thing.
This one
Still,
was quite interesting.
yes, we're still waiting on some interesting results and interesting feedback from that. Alas, I've been so busy I haven't managed to get the information. But
And we're
apparently,
just
it's quite
getting
interesting.
going with another similar kind of concept, which is another tournament which, instead of allowing passes, literally has a hard limit on number of activations per army. So that's the activation experiment, which I believe hasn't started yet. I don't believe it's done its
It
first round draw.
started today.
Ah, right.
It literally started today.
Yep. So both kind of coming at what is perceived to be an issue with game balance in terms of activation spam being a very, very powerful way to win. The pass one tries to give the player with lower activations the ability to pass activations so that they aren't forced to show their hand to their opponent. Interesting that a Stark winner and second place in that tournament, even though they generally are the main abusers of that tactic. The lists aren't exactly what you would expect. They are lower activation Stark lists, but just showing the strength of the tactics deck and some of their units, and why the Starks are the main users of that kind of tactic and, shall we say, abusers of that tactic, which is that they have some of the most powerful activations late in the round. When paired with their movement mechanics, that can be incredibly useful to them. I don't know if that's the kind of outcome that they expected from that tournament, from the experiment in general, but it is some information. It's only a 10-person event, so we can't take too much from it.
Yeah.
It's only gonna have like 20 odd games played, so it's not a huge set of data, but it is interesting to see the Starks still win that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Okay. So that I suppose that brings us to the end of all of the kind of like tournament stuff that we had going on, or that's kind of just ended or just started. All of that kind of stuff. Upcoming stuff. So things that we're looking forward to in the future.
There are another few physical tournaments running next weekend.
Yes, there are, right? In if I can find them.
Yeah.
This Battle of Crosses Keep.
Should be. Yeah, there's an Australian tournament down there. I believe that there is a Polish tournament and maybe a Polish league. I assume that the league won't be starting at the same weekend as the tournament, but I believe there's a tournament in Poland, in Warsaw over the weekend. The people who are entered into the league in Poland are pretty much identical names to the ones that are going to be at the tournament. So I assume that even though their current start dates are both this weekend, that the league won't really kick off for a little while longer. And an event down in Australia, which there always seems to be. They seem to have regular small meetings, 10 odd, 12 player tournaments seem to be happening every weekend there. So that's really great.
Yeah.
That's the main things that we're looking at. I think we've still got that Maritimes event on TTS open to sign up.
Yeah, there's a second Maritimes event, right? Is it this one, the Kings of the East Coast, I believe?
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, so with an entry fee if you want, the price support is only really currently available in Canada. But if people are interested, there are some really big Canadian TTS players, a strong community. So if you're looking for good games, then that's definitely something to get involved in.
Yeah. It starts at the end of the month, though.
Americans,
It's not till November, so there's still like 2 or 3 weeks before it really kicks off. And
exactly.
And Gamma is.
So if you're an American looking to learn how to play, then go play the Canadians because they're continually higher ranked than you.
No. Okay, so yeah, Kings of the East Coast, another Maritimes event there. Aside from that, we've got obviously events going on in November into December, that kind of thing, into next year. We we'll see if any of these physical ones go ahead in Europe.
Mhm.
There is yet more talk that the UK is heading for even more strict lockdowns and things like that. So back 3 months ago, pretty much, but plus economy this time. So we'll see how that goes. Um, and yeah. Oh, hello. Plans of 8 players. So your league, Chia 1984. I hope I said that right. It must be the Polish league. This one is this right?
Cool.
Polish league.
Well, if you want to get in contact with us and need any help, then of course just it's all there in the contact info. So
there you go. Chia.
yeah.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce
All
it.
giving us the oof. I assume based on the US par.
It's all right. He's our only US viewer. Everyone else, I say that, he's definitely not our only US viewer. All right. What else can we talk about while we're here? Is there anything even left?
Not especially. I have. Hopefully, there are some plans coming up. I am looking at organizing a big tournament. I'm not 100% sure on how that will be right now. I think there are a lot of very competitive events coming to an end at the moment on TTS, and maybe it's just the people I speak to, but I feel that there's a lot of discussion about the fact that people are relatively burnt out with it. We've been playing a competitive TTS scene for about 6 months without any new releases. So the meta for a lot of people does feel quite stale. We see the same lists again and again. Not a huge amount of innovation. So in a lot of ways, if I were to run a tournament, again, I would like it to be something that promoted new lists builds and stuff like that. That is what I tried to do in the past with the builder tournament, where you were assigned a commander. It had some success, but basically, you know, the people that were assigned the high-rated commanders just used the same builds as always and stuff like that. So I am thinking about maybe more something based around like commander ELOs or something like that. So I'm trying to put something together which will hopefully rejuvenate the kind of the TTS competitive community and shake up the meta. That's what Stats is all about. It's not about enforcing a really boring meta. It's about balancing away from it, so we can measure how unbalanced the meta is. That's what those commander rankings are that you see right in front of you. They tell you that Rob and Howland are winning all the time. You know, there's nobody should be congratulated for winning a random game with Rob. Like, that's not a huge achievement. Anybody can win. Rob alone has about 200 rating, you know. So even if you were a 1500 rated player, if you play him, you're at about a 1700 rating. So point is that we still are seeing a lot of people entering commanders and tournaments with the only intent to be how many games can they win, rather than can they use something non-meta defining and stuff like that. So hopefully I'll run a tournament which has a lot more focus on that, and less just on using the most powerful list you can build.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before briefly, and I think one thing that Bruce mentioned the other week that we were already semi-thinking of. So Bruce, like, we're not listening to you, buddy. Is the idea of like a certain selection of commanders being banned, or like having a certain selection to choose from. I really want to see some free folk rattle shirt lists that actually work. That actually work. Not because I don't believe there are any, but I just think that everyone who plays a free folk rattle shirt list usually could just replace the commander and be better. I want to see some Targaryen Belwas lists, because I think Belwas is just an awesome character in the game. I don't give a toss if he's any good or not. I just want to see him win or play games. I want to see some more neutral lists, because neutrals we spoke about before. It's Boltons or bust, right? I want to see some interesting Dario Stormcrow lists. I want to see a Vargo Hope Bloody Mother Skirmisher only list. That's what I want to see.
That's a hard push. That's a hard sell.
You clearly just haven't got a clue what you're doing, mate. Get out of here. You don't know nothing about meta lists and winning. Totally. Yeah, no, it's not going to work. All right. So I was just watching the chat there. A couple of things. This is just off tournament now. Just talking about a couple of little things to tide us over for the next couple of minutes. More dragons talk, Carl. Well, I'll just quickly show you this, Carl. This is all you need to know about dragons. This is dragons. Everything is fine here. Everything is completely fine. What's the pinball list? Oh, interesting. The pinball mammoth list. Now, I would build the list, except that mammoths aren't on the builder for obvious reasons. But in short, you're on Steer Commander, you have Harmer attachment, you run Val, and you YOLO around like a headless chicken. You can take horses, trample. Val take, I don't know, crowns, letters, trample. You can take swords, and although the mammoth can't attack, you can still replace the attack action with a trample. You can activate the mammoth and you can trample. You can activate Harmer's unit, and if the mammoth is in short range, you can trample. And if anything dies, and let's face it, you've got some raiders probably dying somewhere along the lines this turn, because you probably trampled over them at some point. Who cares? Yeah. You activate Steer's reactivation card. Oh, the mammoth can trample again. Oh, and by the way, if they ever charge the mammoth in front, which they're always going to do, you should never have your mammoth facing not the front of the enemy. If they charge you in the front, you play set for charge, and then you trample some more. Long story short, pinball mammoths, it's possible that you can get 3 to 4 pinballs or tramples a turn, with the possibility, I think, of a maximum of 8 or 9 in a given turn, which it does require a lot of card play and your opponent to kind of play into it and deliberately let you do it. But the idea that a mammoth can charge like trample 9 times,
well, that's just game over.
Spicy.
I think they're being talked about less than the dragons. They're slightly less exciting than the dragons, but they are definitely something out there that needs some testing.
Yeah.
The whispers I've heard is that that's actually the toned down version of them. So God knows what they were before. There are some. I think the strength of the dragons and people just destroying people, but by playing triple dragons, is dwarfing the fact that they also are possibly a real game changer in terms of the game meta as well.
Yeah. Greg there. Mammoths are better than dragons for less points. Changed my mind. Nah, I'm good with that. That is a great opinion.
Definitely not gonna try. Not gonna try and change your mind on that.
And yeah, more Jamie list says Gruce. Yes, I did like that Gruce, the idea of banning all banning all commanders above a certain threshold. That was an idea that me and Carlos spoke about. It has its own problems. It's not just as simple as doing that, and we spoke about that at length. But it is something we will look at. We'll look at to see what works, and
I got
ultimately,
some ideas. I'll just see how. I just need to see how feasible they are, and we'll see what happens.
Definitely. All right then, guys. That is us over for today. Let's just take you on a quick tour of the world that is, or the world that will be. How do I spell the place that we're going to be streaming to in a minute? Jesus. It's been a long day.
I don't know. Maybe you should just show the tournament bracket or something like that. Look at some pretty pictures while you work out.
Yeah, let's do that. Where's the tournament bracket picture?
For anyone who's still with us, shout out your predictions. Who is going to win?
Yeah.
Is the big question. Who are you rooting for? And, who do you actually think is going to win?
I know for a fact that a player from Europe is going to win.
For a fact?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big shout.
I know, right?
Let me think about it. NA, Europe, Australia. Still a European. I mean, there are Europeans in every quarter of the bracket. They are the biggest percentage of players, but I think that's a big call. I don't agree that is that likely.
The reason I say that is because I genuinely believe that Larks, with his handing, when Gamma handed Larks his arse in that game, and I know they talk about all the various different things that went on, but when that happened, I actually think that that Lark's learned some key things from that game, and I think that Lark's can take those lessons into Ariakis' game. Then all of a sudden you've got Stanis Furioku, that's European all. Lark's beating Ariakas, that's a European there. You might have an Australian. I mean, an Australian might win. Spleen might be able to come through to it. Khan Artist. But again, there's two non-Europeans fighting off against each other in the first round. I actually think you're going to have a lot of Europeans left in, just by sure looking at the brackets. And I think the Europeans left in are the best players. I genuinely think that people like Furioku, I know people might talk down to Furioku and say that he doesn't look as good as he perhaps might be, and he perhaps plays poorly at some time. But let's face it, he wins tournaments. He knows how to play the game really well. So
let's see if he can get through Stanis in the next half hour.
I really hope he doesn't, because I want Stanis to win, because I like Stanis. But Stanis will just get memed on by a Stark at some point, and he'll just lose. Like score 0 victory points and get 10-0. Oh, that'd be sad.
I think we're about there. So should we call it a day?
Yeah, we are. We will.
Next stream. We'll be over there, and hopefully that'll be going live in about 15 minutes. We'll be over on NRG, getting ready for the game, talking about that. It is, of course, Stanis versus Masada Furioku. I can't believe we still call him by two names all the time. And that'll be Baratheons versus Starks. Here we stand. Another great game to get us going in the Masters. Two really well-known names. See who comes out on top.
Yep. And if you're watching